talking about, I really love the title of this panel and this session, Capturing the Spatial Imagination. And I feel like what we are all doing by entering the metaverse is actually really deepening people's experience with their imaginations. We're enabling them to imagine again different types of realities, different types of moving through a space, three-dimensionally, two-dimensionally, bringing an avatar to a space, perhaps representing their body in a new way. And so for us at Double I Studios, we're doing that with live entertainment and performance, but I know that each of you are also bringing audiences, people in education and creators in so many different ways of joining our audiences together. And I like to use the word sometimes it's like we're embarking on a journey, and I feel like we are. It feels like we're constantly doing something different and going somewhere. There's a destination. We're here together in this virtual space. This is a destination too. And I think just the way that we look at these things and use our imagination and our minds again is really special. Hello, Tom.
Hi, Tom.
Hello, indeed. My sincerest apologies for
I
the
was
delay.
late too.
The irony is I'm meant to be a tech expert, but I can't work out live streams. So my sincerest apologies.
I would say you're right on metaverse time. We're all just arriving.
Exactly. Well, Kira set it up beautifully, as she does, like the sets and the stage and the storyline. You missed it though. I'm sorry. Like you came in.
Yeah.
I like it. The people I went to see Blue Man Group, and like they put this, like somebody who walks in late and they put the big screen and they say, you're late. Like that would be me. And then you too, right afterwards. So in our immersive world, that is this panel.
I feel like I missed a lot in the last 5 minutes and feel kind of left out, but I have to be integrated again.
Excellent. We'll just put your virtual jetpack on and you'll join us right now in this moment. So Sam, would you like to start with your background? And I can pass the moderation torch to any of you as well. But, I think we can all kind of keep asking each other questions and have a really lively discussion here. Yeah. Sam, what brought you into this space? And do you want to talk a little bit about harnessing imagination in these spatial environments and being here in this spatial part of the metaverse?
Well, you're one of the reasons why I'm in this whole industry here for sure. So, one of the biggest inspirations when I started, for me, it's been just a journey of seeing what is possible and even seeing over time what is possible. I tend to focus on the marketing, branding, strategy, positioning of these technologies. And one of sort of the fun things I've been able to do over the 5+ years I've been in the industry is that I teach as an adjunct at Steinhardt. And in doing the sort of research to teach that, which is, you don't get paid enough as an adjunct to have it be anything but fun. But the fun of it was just figuring out all the different industries in which these technologies can apply and how it changes so much of them. I've actually right now I'm finishing a book with Bo Martins called Metaverse. Yay, announcement. That's coming up December 1st. And we're covering over 25 different industries and the applications across sort of the entire spectrum. So it's not just, consumer VR experiences, but everything, any industry. I usually say like any industry, name an industry. That's my creativity. Kira can create worlds. I can help sort of inspire people to understand what's possible.
It's very exciting, right? We're all creating these worlds and bringing people into them. Terry, how about you? A little bit about your background and what brought you into the space?
Sure. So, I've been in the space forever, as far as I'm concerned. I started with, computer graphics all the way back in the 90s. So I've been using 3D technology. I should never say this number, but for more than 25 years. First with games, and then I had my own agency doing digital imaging for advertising, and we were selling like interactive 3D content for brands all the way back in 2005. And I realized that my challenge was business development in my company. Everything we were doing was so technical that it was challenging for me to find people to help us. I was always the one doing everything in terms of biz dev. And then I realized that my problem was kind of everyone's problem in the space. And fast forward to today, now I have a company called virtualrealitymarketing.com. I'm co-founder and CEO, and our mission is really to help connect XR and metaverse creators with brands and enterprise and their clients. And we really try to basically, help answer questions like, where do I start, and who can I trust, and what do I do, and what do I build? And I think back to what Samantha was saying, it's really exciting because you can create all of those experiences and anything and everything right now. But if you go to like movies and games, the rule book is essentially written for what's a movie or what's a game. You've got genres and styles and guidelines and budgets. And for the metaverse, it's a jungle. Like, it's all fresh and all new. So on one hand, it's very exciting. And on the other hand, it's really complicated for companies to, match their expectations and what they're going to build with, the reality of the technology and where we are right now.
That's beautifully said. Exactly right. But how do we even harness their imagination to bring them in the space if some of the tech hasn't arrived yet? But isn't that the most beautiful part, is when we know where we want to go and then our developers start to build that tech to help us get there.
Well, and it's the artists like you, Kira, that end up being the inspiration to so many of us, because you can see these new technologies and conceptualize how they fit within storytelling in a new and different way. And I mean, I've talked about this, and I still think this. I don't know if there's lots of research about it or not, but I do think that it's the artists and the creators that are those ones that are willing to be uncomfortable, right? And that's innovation.
Yes.
And so they're like, here, we don't know yet, so let's create something new. And you're one of the best people out there to do that. And then it's the marketers and advertisers, like my people that I came from, who are like, that's really cool. Maybe we can do that for a brand. And then everybody, sort of everybody else, and where you can learn from that. Right. But it is, it's just exploring the unknown. I mean, that's what I think is sort of part of the beauty and the fear and uncertainty, is just going in saying, we don't all know. We're not sure. We're going to take what we do know, make some judgments, take some risks. But I think that there is actually so much, and writing the book, I think about this all the time, but we know a lot of different things. Like, we know a lot of different technologies that are going into the metaverse, and we know the applications of so many of those technologies, but it's how they're going to be interwoven and how they're going to be used in new and different ways that we're still figuring out. And so that's where, when I go like, Kira, what are you doing next? So that I can go, I want to go and play with whatever you're doing, so that I can go, oh, I see how that could be used in this enterprise situation. I see how you've used this technology. Oh, that could work on a shop floor or whatever it might be. So sorry, I'm going on I spend a lot of time thinking and not obviously enough time talking, and we're not even letting Tom talk.
Tom, it's your turn. Yes, you're up. We'd love to hear from you about what's brought you into the space and what you do.
I'm surrounded by people who know a lot, and just absolutely want to hear from them as well. It's the first time I heard about the Metaverse book as well, coming out on the 1st of December, if I heard that right.
It's already on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, wow.
To pre-order. I don't think we have a website up yet, so this is my first sort of public announcement about it. So,
I mean, that's the exclusive. I'm going to Google right in and just find it after this. From within all these perspectives, it's been evolving quite nicely over 2022. And I've also noticed the growth of particular engines, which I just find fascinating. One recent example is called the Wonderland engine, which is a WebXR focused one. I find them really interesting because I learned earlier this week that RP1, which is an infrastructure company, is working with the Wonderland engine in order to create their experience. The significance of that is they managed to crack a nut where they can have 4,000 concurrent players at the same time within WebXR space, which is a huge deal. And that's why I want to mention it here, because imagine a marketing experience where you can have 4,000 concurrent people, which people can access via a URL. Now, for me, I think that's a massive deal, and I think that warrants further investigation.
But if it's Fortnite, you might think, no, that's already exists.
So
well, it's not in a browser. It's a game. Yeah, it's like you need to have the game, you need to download the game. If you talk about the experiences on Sandbox and Decentraland, it's all like a games architecture. And so it's not exactly frictionless to enter, whereas one link, one click, fantastic.
See, that's my professor hat going on right there.
It's like in certain experiences, you have to download that as a friction thing, and that is a point. The other point I would make is I think you're also implying that it's within Fortnite to have multiple. It's technically sharded in the sense that you could only technically have 100 players per world. With this one, it's 4,000, which are all simultaneously experiencing the same thing, which is slightly different. And depending on what you're trying to build, that could be quite interesting as well. I don't know. I think just when it comes to WebXR, it's the most interesting thing I'm looking into. My apologies, Samantha. What did you just say?
I said they need to call Kira and get her to do a multiple 1,000-person experience, and then we'll all know what they should do with it.
We'll
all venture into the unknown. I love how XR Mausio has written that. So I have a question for all of you about what happens when a brand approaches you. Where do you start? Do you send them into Decentraland and you say, go check this out? Do you start them with AR or VR? What level of immersion do you offer that brand as a starting point?
It's an excellent question. I would say right now we're actually working, we have it so much that we're working on a package of consulting, metaverse consulting for brands to answer those questions and kind of give the roadmap, because everyone is coming with the same questions. And I think number one is starting with education on what's out there, what's the landscape, what are the platforms, what are the technology, what is everyone doing. And then you have the strategy and what do you want to achieve? What are your goals? Because a lot of people right now are jumping on the bandwagon and it's like, hey, we're going to use the technology for tech's sake. And it's like, well, tech is a tool, and, like every tool, what do you want to achieve with this tool? Like, what is your goal? Knowing where you want to go is super important. And then my favorite topics is budgets. Doesn't sound fun, but it's hysterical because we live in this world where people have been spoiled with like decades of like 3D games and 3D movies, which are all super photorealistic. And, everyone thinks that, oh yeah, whatever PlayStation game, it's like everything is perfect. And most people don't know that those movies and those games, the budgets hover easily, even games, in the $100 million, all of the Avengers movie, each and every one of them, $250 million each, meaning that, yes, you can totally create super photorealistic worlds, but your $250,000 budget, which feels big to you, in the grand scheme of things, is not that much. And so that's also a big part of the education and the managing the expectations, because right now we live in this world where when people start to really realize what it takes to build a solid, photorealistic, sophisticated experience, you've got your expectations here, and then it's like, oh, wow, okay, now I get it. So we've seen that earlier with all kinds of clients.
Yes, we get that a lot as well. Oh, can you do this in a month? Right? There's a lot of sort of setting expectations of how much time it takes to build some of these worlds and what goes into 3D modeling or a user journey and that interaction. Tom and Samantha, anything that you want to add about where you start a brand when they come to you? Do you start them with AR? Do you send them into a WebXR platform, Web3? What's your sort of go-to place?
By all means, Samantha, go on ahead if you so wish.
I already talked. I talked a lot. I'll talk a lot again. You go ahead.
Okay, fair enough. So for me, it just depends on the client and what they're working on. I found the costs to vary wildly based on who you partner with and who you go for. So I had one client who wanted to make a tailgate in the metaverse, which, as someone who's based in the UK, I had to Google what tailgate was. But when I did find out, then what we did suggest is that's a Decentraland one, because you can create the assets, you can build it from there and go in that sort of way. If there's a brand that wanted to make it as frictionless as possible for lots of people to come in and try it out, I tend to recommend more web-based ones, WebXR, for example, because you could just scan with your phone and then you can dip in and go from there. If there's a client who wanted something very, very, very technical, that's something built up and will cost a lot of money. I think there was one person who was billed $1 million US for a very in-depth travel experience, which is a lot of money, but sometimes you need to go down numbers too. I even heard of one company who wanted to create like a metaverse kind of area thing, and they were quoted 15 million at one point. Like the amount of money in this space is going insane. But we're going to go back to WebXR, and because WebXR is the core of it. And the best experiences I've seen are ones which is more experiential, which is dips in and which goes smoothly. And if I were to suggest to people where to go to like learn from themselves, to learn more, what to do, the best course I've ever taken is 3.js Journey by Bruno. And that's fantastic for learning object-based coding when it comes to within like web-based experiences. That kind of knowledge when it comes to 3.js can also then be applied within a WebXR framework to make some very complex and interesting experiences as well. But those are my own thoughts as well. And Samantha, I'm sure you're going to shoot and have lots of thoughts.
It's interesting because I think that some of the answers that you're talking about are very technical, and Terry is also very like how can we actually get this done and make it happen, and mine tends to be almost like one step earlier before you even get that, of just trying to have people understand the concept of all this and what is possible. Not we'll get to like what would be a specific sort of execution, but like just people are still starting, like they still don't always understand the different technical aspects and how things change from, what VR is, what AR is, and where we're sort of going in this future metaverse, whatever we call it, and how it's mainly the integration of all of them. And so you have to start to understand the different building blocks. And then what I like to do is sort of get people, I generally call it a hump. I need a better word. Kira, you're gonna have to help me out. But it's like from this, like, I don't know anything, keep me away and whatever, to like going through that sort of uncomfortable period of trying to understand, being willing to not know, and then coming out with, I usually say it's like a time where they go, like it's like a speechless time because their brain is working so hard to understand, like, oh, wow, this is the trajectory of what is possible. And then once you understand that, then you can actually plan back. It's almost like, I'm gonna use a parallel. Like if you're gonna create an experience, you have to know when's your deadline, right? What's your deadline? What's your budget? And that's far out. So you go, okay, well, the metaverse is sort of going in this direction, but we're only going to get to these sort of places now, but it doesn't mean that that's where it ends. Because the worst case scenario for me is that there would be, I always have this thing of like some company goes and creates, let's say, a digital twin of something, and it's only used by one department.
Right.
Like, just not. And so it's like, if you're going to create a creative experience, don't think of it, oh, okay, we're going to create a creative experience and it's only going to be at this one festival or at this one location, and that's it. And that's where but no, you have to sort of think broader, understand, think if it's an ongoing journey, what else is going to be a part of it, and sort of expand beyond. So that's, I like to figure out where people are now and where their thoughts are and what level of understanding they are, and then sort of, I said, over that hump to the future, and then work back.
And you know, Samantha, one thing I think that's super important, I really like how you describe this journey. And it's something that not so many people talk about, and I think it's super important because when you go somewhere and you don't know where you're going, not everything is going to be perfect and not everything is going to click immediately.
Right.
And so one of the advices we like to give, and it's not popular, but it's important, it's fail. Fail fast, fail cheap. Like, and you know, learn from your mistakes because not everything is, you know, it's new technology, new environments, new a lot of things. And so there's going to be some failures and not everything is going to work. But in the failure, you know, some aspects will be catastrophic and some aspects will be, oh, we learned.
It's not a direct line. And so I say that you've gone from, it can be everything to just, it's like an angle, a very narrow sort of slice. You're getting a narrowing that slice and you're going, it's going to be somewhere in here.
Exactly. But
and then as you get, and then it sort of narrows as you go through that decision tree along creating something. I mean, I come from a TV background. I know that people will come in, and I used to sell ad time years and years ago, and they'd be like, I want this huge campaign, but I have, as you said, it's like, I only have this amount of money. And it's like, well, then let's pare it back. But that's okay. I mean, I think it's also okay to have that vision of like, maybe one day we'll be able to create that multi-million-dollar thing. But you know what we can do now for this group of people, and this, if you understand your target market, that's where I think that people in the tech industry tend to forget. And what is like, who's this for? Like, and why do they care that you're doing it at all?
What problem are you solving for them?
Answer that. If you're like, it's cool. It's really cool.
I just think it's neat.
Competitors did it. And so we need to keep up with them. It's like, that's not innovation. You know, innovation is going, okay, they did this, let's look at the landscape, let's look at what's possible, and now let's push it. And that part of it, I'm gonna fangirl over Kira again, because I keep on going, how did you come up with that? But
right? It comes to what Terry's saying about failing fast. And I think it comes to the brands willing to take a risk. And I think what's so beautiful about what you're both saying about, you know, if they imagine something of where they want to go, but they can't do it today, maybe the campaign can't reach that, they don't have the budget for it just yet, there's something that they can do today. And if they do a volumetric capture shoot, or we 3D model something for them, that asset has so many purposes beyond the life of just the first level of the first part of a campaign. That asset can be reused, like you were saying, Sam, by multiple departments. It could be used in AR and eventually in VR if they're not ready for VR. I think
that's how budgets tend to work. That's what's a little bit, right? You'd be like, this department has this line item of budget. And so you'd have to either get multiple teams to combine budgets, hilarious, or you need somebody sort of at a senior level going, this is important, and we're gonna create 3D assets or whatever it is. I mean, that's not the most exciting thing, but let's just say it as an example. We're gonna create 3D assets that we're gonna use throughout the company, and that becomes just something that is either a corporate level budget or individual level budgets. And that's why you need both that sort of technological team to go, this is cool, right? The marketing team to say like, so what, who cares, who's this for? And then the corporate to go like, okay, let's figure out the budget, because we're not necessarily going to get it just from one particular team, especially if this is an ongoing thing. You don't want to be, and this is my terrible, you don't want to be the people that say, oh, the internet's not a big deal, we don't need a website, we don't need to start campaign. Like, you have to think, maybe you're not going to be the equivalent of the first company that has your internet page with all the video and all the whatever, but you have to be planning to go there. I mean, I love working with the people that are like, let's just try this now, and let's see how to integrate things. But like, one other point, and this is like slightly aside, that I do find, you know, and maybe Terry, you've seen this, and Kira and Tom, but when technologies are more mature, they're easier to use. They have everything sort of packaged together. When you're in a more innovative space, you're going to have to, the team that you're working is going to have to combine multiple potentially different technologies, different teams in order to create something new. So that is part of that risk, right? And that is part of maybe the cost. But that's what makes somebody say, oh my gosh, I can't believe that brand did that thing. It's like, because they put together 3 companies in a way that other people hadn't before.
I absolutely agree. It's very interesting. One thing we see is when people get to the space and they see like the state of the tools and the platforms, and they're asking questions like, but how come you don't have that feature and this feature and this feature and this feature? And each of the companies are like, yes, well, that's on the roadmap. And hell yeah, this one is planned for like summer 23, and this one is like Christmas 24, and it's coming, but you know, it's all new and it's all fresh. And I think with, you know, being on the internet for like 20 years, where you're at the iPhone 14, and I don't know what's the new features of the new iPhone. Now we're talking about, hey, we've got yet another notification screen coming from the notch, like no one cares about. They're so everything. But it's the opposite with the metaverse. Everything needs to be done. And as you were very well putting, Samantha, I think, it's simultaneously a challenge and the opportunity. That's the opportunity because that's where you can build it.
If you like, if you're like, you think that it made sense. No, it would have been put well together if you understood it. But I think that this is it's just such a fun place to be, but also such a huge potential impact as well.
We are joined by Karen Alexander, has joined our magical space here.
Hello.
Hello. I'm very happy to be here and to see you all again. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Well, the next panel is coming up. So thank you all so very much for sharing your wisdom with our audience today. Really great to have you here. I know this discussion could probably go on for longer, but we're bringing on the next. We will see you again soon, I hope.
We'll see you in the metaverse.
Hi, Terry. How are you?
Sam will be looking for your book. Thank you for announcing that. Terry will be connecting with your space, and Tom has already gone on to his next journey.
Well, Karen, thanks for having us, and really a pleasure to be with you all today. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, Terry. Bye, Kira. Bye.